Thank you, Dave. I'm going to start with a word of prayer because I'm kind of shaky. God, even in the silence, you speak. I pray that in this space this morning, we have our hearts tuned to your voice, and that we not only sit and listen, but we let our hearts, our minds, our attitudes, our actions, and the words that we speak to others, we allow those to change. We thank you for the gifts that you give us. And we thank you for emotions that for many here, maybe at some point in their lives they've been told to not feel what they're feeling or how they're feeling. And I just pray that we would give you the glory through whatever it is that, however it is that we feel today. We thank you. Amen. I guess it just hit me that this is, it's okay to laugh when you're sad too, by the way. I guess it just, hit me that this is the last time that I'll be preaching here for at least a few years. My first item here is move update. So I'm going to give you a little update on the moving process. So I figure if I say it, that I'll be able to talk more. So I'm just letting you know what's on my list here. Move update. We've been packing all week, and our house is small, but for some reason the amount of boxes seems like it's bigger than our whole house. And we're like, what in the world were we storing here? Thankfully, we haven't accumulated too many things that are, I guess, unnecessary, but we've made a couple of trips to make some donations and given some things to friends. And so our move out date is this Monday, the 31st, because since we're renting our house, their policy is if you're in the house for any portion of a month, you have to pay for the whole month. And I was like, the rent isn't that bad, but it's not that good either to just pay a month. And so we're just like, okay, we'll move out at the end of the month. And so we're storing stuff at her parents' house in Oregon City. And so we'll be moving out of there this Monday. We've pretty much moved out already, but just a couple more things. And then August 7, the following Monday, we will begin our drive to Southwest Michigan, where I'll be attending Andrews University for a master's degree in divinity. What's that? I said try to master that. I've seen pictures. It doesn't look too bad. But there aren't any hills to go exploring in, so we'll have to figure out something there. Is it okay if I give kind of a vague job update on? Okay. She says yes. Jen has had a couple of interviews out at Lakeland Medical Center or Lakeland Hospital in St. Joseph, Michigan. and their OR position. So she's waiting to hear back, and it's like check the email every day to find out if you've been hired or what the deal is. So keep that in your prayers as we hope that we can make a transition over there relatively smoothly. As anybody hopes in a transition that it goes smoothly. And up until this point, everything has been going smoothly. I have so much to be thankful for. That's probably why it's so hard to not be overwhelmed with emotion up here. And it's a good place to be. A good place to be, to have so many things that you're thankful for that you just feel overwhelmed with emotion, that you can't find the words to say thank you. So thank you. Thank you for so many wonderful memories and experiences here. Whether it's been, part of the praise team here, or doing some Bible studies, or hanging out at the school, or doing a baptism. Last night, Mason was baptized, and it was a small attendance because he wanted to just have family there. But I want to say hello and congratulations, and we're super happy for Mason. And I think he might be in the back room hiding. There he is. Is he coming out? So Mason has been baptized, and this isn't the end game, right? Okay, get him baptized, and phew. This is like, I don't know, it's like you're on now, okay? Like the church family is on. You got to pull together, support this guy, because right after Jesus was baptized, which we're going to look at in a second, that's not like where we're going in the sermon, but right after Jesus was baptized, he went to the wilderness and was tempted by Satan himself. You read it, it's in Matthew chapter 3, it's right there, and then chapter 4. So we've got to band together, we've got to support those who have just committed publicly their decision to follow Jesus and dedicate their lives. So amen, Mason, I'm super stoked, and this is an awesome opportunity, and it's not the end. This is just part of our journey with Jesus. And I have just, again, so much to be thankful for here, this church, with you, my church family. God, we thank you again. We have so much to be thankful for. Often our eyes are distracted by the negativity around us, or the temptation within us, or the attitude that we get, whether we're feeling insignificant, or we're feeling like we don't matter, or we're feeling like people don't notice. I just pray that you turn our eyes upon you, and that we would look full on your wonderful face. Amen. As I would imagine, as most of you know, I've spent, before I came here, I spent 5 summers working at Big Lake Youth Camp. I worked there as a counselor for 2 summers, and then I was offered the position to be the boys' director. So I'd work with, work with the campers still, but I would more directly with the counselors. And I learned a lot while working at Big Lake. If you or your kids or your grandkids have an opportunity to go to Big Lake, experience the wonder of God. Right now their theme is experiencing the wonder of God. And each summer there are amazing things that happen at camp. And I was able to learn quite a bit. And one of the greatest things that I learned there was that what we recognize grows. That which gets recognized grows. And I've thought about this from time to time over the years. Oh, somebody steps out of line and they don't do what they're supposed to do. Do you go to them and tell them how bad they've done? Or do you go and remind them of the good they've done and then, call them out on the bad? Well, I believe it was when the Seahawks tied the Cardinals 6-6, and all the points were actually scored by the kickers. And yet the kickers got all the flack because they both had a chance to, win the game, and neither of them could. The coach for the Cardinals, got after him. It's like, dude, you have one job. You are paid to kick the football, and you are paid to score, and you missed. Who misses? And yet, Pete Carroll, the coach of the Seahawks, he says to his guys, like, look, you've been successful in the past. You will be successful again in the future. Today, you missed. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, you missed. But you're going to succeed again. And that which gets recognized grows. Caleb, was the kicker Steven Hauschka? Yeah, okay, thanks. Dude, Caleb knows all about the Seahawks, so I should have checked with him beforehand, but anyway, thanks, Caleb. The kicker, Steven Hauschka. And if the coach had recognized the mistake, that's what's going to grow. But if you recognize the success, you recognize the good, that's what's going to grow. So I've thought about this over the years as I've confessed it over the front. I'm not really I don't have a team that I specifically follow particularly, but I've thought about the concept of what gets recognized grows when watching sports, when watching the post-game shows, when they're giving their interviews to the reporters and all this stuff, and different areas in life. And, if you really want to be a catalyst for change, you want to be someone that starts a movement. It may not be the biggest movement. It may not be the Reformation. But if you want to be a catalyst for change, tell someone what you see in them. I'm going to say that again. I don't know. You might want to write this down. Maybe not. If you really want to be a catalyst for change, tell someone what you see in them. This change is not always good, as what we say to other people is not always good, uplifting, and edifying. This is found in Ephesians 4:29. When Paul writes this letter, he says, "Let no corrupt talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." Paul wouldn't have said this if they were already building each other up. I had a teacher that had this principle. It's called the beans up your nose principle. If someone comes up to you and tells you randomly, don't put beans up your nose, you're like, oh, you're crazy, man. But if you're sitting at the dinner table, whether it's with your kids or your siblings or your grandkids, and someone starts putting beans in their nose, now it's not so unusual to be told, don't put beans up your nose. So if you're going to be told something, it's either about to happen, it is happening, or it's already happened. So when Paul writes, let no corrupt talk come from out of your mouths, but only speak as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear you. Then speaking positively, speaking truth that is good to these people was an issue. If you've ever been to a memorial where all they talked about the person who is being remembered, first, have any of you been to a memorial where anyone spoke negatively of the person, like from up front at least? Because maybe behind the scenes you're like, yeah, well, no, they weren't that nice. I was his neighbor, whatever. For the most part, though, at memorials and funerals, you speak highly of the person. The eulogy, after all, means the good talk, the good word. To say, to hear, to write, to read something good. And so the eulogy is spoken at a funeral, a place where this person can't even hear it. I don't believe the person can hear it. What I study in the Bible is this person cannot hear what I'm saying right now. So speaking the good At that time, while it's beautiful for the family to come together and remember this person in this space, they don't get to hear it. There's this guy that writes a blog. His name is John Pavlovitz. And this article was written actually a week after my first Sabbath here. It's called While They Can Still Hear, the Case for Living Eulogies. And I'm going to read it. It's not a long blog, but I'm going to go ahead and read this. So here goes. We say pretty words about dead people. There's something about death that forces the poet in us to the surface. When we lose someone we love, we suddenly feel free to speak beautiful, flowery sentiments of gratitude and affection and admiration. Words that we'd kept bottled up for years. Words the other person had been longing their entire lives for. And now that we're finally ready to say them, they can't hear. The author continues, my father passed away this time last year, and like many who grieve, I talk with him all the time. Again, I don't believe that the person can hear, but there is something healing with being able to get out the words that you could have said, you would have said. And I believe there's still the sense that the person can hear. I'm not going to go into that, though. One of the greatest sources of peace I have comes from the fact that he had heard it all before. They were close. He says, he knew that I loved him and respected him and was grateful for him because I'd told him when he was alive. While I often wonder if the words reach him now, I take comfort in knowing that they reached him then. Life can be shockingly mundane, and that monotony has a way of tricking us, of lulling us into believing that we have as much time as we need with people. That feeling sedates us just enough so that we rarely feel the urgency of fully expressing our hearts to those we love. And then, when we have everything instantly ripped out from under us in the blink of a tear-filled eye, things suddenly feel pretty darn urgent. In the moments and months following the loss of someone we love, we get hit by the frantic flood of every unspoken thought, every withheld word, every undelivered sweetness. And we plead for just a few precious seconds back so that we can say all that we never said. All that we should have said. Time becomes something invaluable that we'd gladly sell everything we own for. Eulogies are really wonderful things. They're just usually really poorly timed. We like to say that people are late after they've passed away, but the truth is that our words are often late too. They're often too late to change the path of a life while it's being lived. Too late to bring restoration to a broken-hearted soul while still in its body. Too late to give someone wings while their feet still touch the ground. I think we should give people living eulogies, that we should speak lavish, unashamed words of love and praise, not about them, but to them. Because the truth is, when it comes to the people you love, as impossible as it can be to believe, one day you won't get to choose. One day you'll pick up the phone to call them, and you'll catch yourself and remember and put it back down. One day you'll want to sit across from them and say everything you never said but should have, and the chair will be empty. One day you'll speak every life-giving, grateful, love-drenched word, and you'll do it to a headstone or a casket or to the ether. Friend, there are people around you who need to see the full contents of your heart now. They deserve the blessing of knowing that they matter today. Realize that time is startlingly short. There's still time. Give eulogies to those around you, to the living. Memorialize them face to face. Speak all the words of love to those you love. Say everything while they can still hear. I believe that our words are more powerful than we may realize. And I don't mean powerful as in mystical, as in if you say the right things, you can shut the door. Or I saw on a video, a Vine this week, where there's this kid dressed in a Darth Vader costume. And he's standing beside a car, and he's like 4 or 5 years old. And he's like this. And the car starts. And, his dad's there with the remote. He just got a remote start. And this kid's like, and it starts. And then he's like, what? And he looks at the camera, he's like, what? And he's got the Darth Vader mask, so you don't really see his expression. But you know what his expression is. Like, oh, I don't believe that our words have the power like that. Like if I say the right, whether it's in English or Latin or Swahili, something magical is going to happen. I don't believe that. But I do believe that what we recognize in others grows. In the garden, God gave Adam and Eve a choice. He gave them the choice of anything and to avoid this one. And with this one tree came the knowledge of good and evil. Can you imagine not having to choose? There's something liberating in choice, but not so liberating in the options. The ability to not have to choose daily. Am I going to see life through the lens of the bad, the broken, or to see life through the good, the hopeful? I believe that we're given at least 2 sets of lenses to see the world through. One set allows us to see the brokenness, the insufficiency, the threats to what we value. And the other set of lenses allows us to see the potential for and action of the healer, the ways the Lord has provided enough, and the opportunities to serve others before ourselves. I referenced before Jesus' baptism, and I'm going to read Matthew 3, verses 16 and 17. Matthew 3, 16 and 17. And when Jesus was baptized, immediately he went up from the water, and behold, the heavens were opened to him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and coming to rest on him. And behold, a voice from heaven said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. This is my Son, I'm proud of him. You are my Son, I am proud of you." I am well pleased. I am proud of you. Proud. The words that we speak have power. What we recognize in others can be a catalyst for change in their life, and not only theirs, but the lives of the people they, from there forward, will interact with. I'm proud of you. I think that many people have come to believe that pride is evil, that all forms of pride are evil. But at this point, I don't believe all pride is evil. There is an evil, a self-serving and a self-glorifying pride. Like Nebuchadnezzar, I built this city. Look what I did. I saw the dream of this image, and I built it all out of my gold. Look at me, look what I have done. That is the evil pride. That is not good pride. But there is another. That is in believing in the idea that God had when he made you. Believing in the idea that God had when he made you. Here's Jim. I have plans for Jim. We have a few Jims in here today. This is true for all the Jims. This is my beloved son, and I am proud of him. I think that's what God is saying. And the good kind of pride is believing in the idea that God had when he made you. As long as we live in an imperfect world, we will have the abilities to see good and evil. When we remember that Christ came that we may have life and experience that life with the assurance that he lives in and through us, and that he is quick to forgive and heal us, what choice do we have but to recognize the goal, to recognize the good in those around us, and therefore breathe life into it and see it grow?